Story recapped here. Today I'm going to explain a fantasy, drama, and horror show called Into the Dark, Down. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. On the evening before Valentine's Day, Jennifer Robbins stays late in her office to compose an email for her ex-fiancé, Derek. She plans to fly out to New York to patch things up with him, but he doesn't know she's coming yet. Ultimately, she decides to go with her plan without sending the message. Before she leaves her office, she grabs a handful of chocolates and stuffs them in her bag. In a men's bathroom, a man named Guy preps himself up as if getting ready for a date. As the last people to leave the building, Jennifer and Guy coincidentally get into the same elevator. Guy casually initiates small talk, and Jennifer responds to him politely. In the middle of the conversation, Guy notices a stickman figure on the wall that's stuck in a box. Suddenly, the elevator shakes and stops. Jennifer immediately worries while Guy tries to use the emergency alarm, but to no avail. He tries to open the door next, but this also proves useless. They notice a CCTV camera and try to call for help, but they're not sure if anyone can see them. It also doesn't help that they have no cell service, and it's a long weekend, so they'll probably be rescued on Tuesday morning. On top of that, Jennifer is desperate to get out because she has a flight to catch. With no choice, the two decide to wait until they get rescued. To pass the time, they get acquainted with one another. Jennifer shares that she's an account manager, and Guy says that he's an accountant, but he's new, so he asks if the elevator has gotten stuck before. Jennifer says no, and their conversation turns awkward, so they succumb to silence right after. 15 minutes later, Jennifer hops onto Guy's shoulders to look for an escape hatch on the ceiling. After trying for some time, she gives up as she can't find one. After an hour passes, Jennifer gives up on catching her flight. Overwhelmed, she curses out in anger, and Guy agrees with everything she says to make her feel better. This makes Jennifer smile, and they finally introduce themselves to each other. After this, they start to hit things off. Jennifer jokingly says that she's dying of thirst, so Guy offers her a water bottle. She hesitates at first but ends up drinking it anyway. After this, she gives Guy some chocolates to thank him. After a few hours, Jennifer feels the urge to urinate, but she does her best to hold it in. Guy tells her to do it on his coat, but she refuses since it's embarrassing. Just then, Guy spots the empty thermos in her bag, so he suggests using it instead. Although this is extremely humiliating for her, Jennifer does just that. As she does, Guy covers his ears so he can't hear the noises coming from her. After this, Jennifer thanks Guy for not making the situation awkward. Realizing that she officially missed her flight, Jennifer decides to let the situation go and not dwell on it. Shortly after, she draws a girl on the wall to accompany the boy stuck in the box. The two later pass the time by shooting chocolates into a cone. While they do this, Guy shares that he's in a complicated relationship with his job, and nobody cares for him. He asks about her missed flight, so Jennifer shares that she was going to surprise her ex-fiancé, who probably doesn't want to see her. Realizing that they're both going through a tough time, Guy decides to open the bottle of wine that he's been carrying. He wants to ease their woes, and Jennifer gladly joins him. Later on, the two try to draw each other. While doing so, they hear a thump, but nobody responds from the outside. Jennifer groans in frustration and asks Guy what time it is, so he reveals that it's 1 a.m. After this, they go back to drawing, and Guy tells Jennifer that he actually noticed her in the building before. He didn't want to come off as a stalker, so he didn't talk about it. Then, he shares that he thought she was pretty and probably nice. Now that he finally met her, he can confirm that his thoughts were true. Jennifer smiles and thanks him for the compliments. After this, they show their drawings to each other. Jennifer playfully drew a funny picture of Guy with a bottle of wine, while Guy drew a pretty portrait of her. She's so impressed by it that she takes a photo and says she'll make it her profile picture when they get out. She takes a few more selfies with Guy and asks what they should talk about next. Guy suggests sports, but Jennifer wants something interesting, like past intimate escapades. While they share their stories, she suggests recording themselves. Jennifer goes first, and she shares that the weirdest place she did it in is the library. Guy goes next, but he doesn't have an experience as wild as hers. So Jennifer tells him to create a story instead. He starts making up a story about getting intimate with a coworker in his car after a work party, but he gets aroused by his own story, and Jennifer notices. Guy apologizes, thinking that he might creep her out. However, Jennifer says it's okay, so he bluntly says he wants to kiss her. Jennifer doesn't protest, so Guy dives in for a kiss. Things get heated, and the two copulate. They both have a good time, but after they do the deed, Guy blurts out that he's falling in love with her. This turns Jennifer off, so she quickly gets dressed. He asks her what's wrong, so she tells him that they're only casual because she still plans to go back to Derek. Guy tries to reason with her, saying that her ex doesn't deserve her and doesn't even want her back anyway. This triggers Jennifer, so she reminds him to remember his place. Pissed, she decides to forget everything that just happened after they get rescued. Jennifer tries to lighten up the situation and says that at least now, he finally has an interesting experience. However, Guy is still hurt by her rejection, so he decides to reveal everything. His real name isn't Guy, and he doesn't work as an accountant. In fact, he's the building security guard, which gave him easy access to stalk her. He even staged the situation they're in so that he could get closer to her. Realizing he can't win her affections, Guy gives up and inserts the key to the elevator. It restarts, and Jennifer releases a sigh of relief. However, she realizes the intensity of the situation, so she hysterically screams at him, saying he'll rot in jail for what he's done. Hearing this, Guy turns the elevator off, so Jennifer runs to turn it back on. As Guy tries to stop her, she accidentally kicks the key and destroys it, trapping it for real. Furious, Jennifer beats him up with her boot. He falls to the ground, so she checks on him, thinking he might be dead. However, Guy opens his eyes and bangs Jennifer's head to the floor, knocking her out. Hours later, Jennifer wakes up, so Guy welcomes her back. She asks why he did this, so he explains that it's a good way to meet a girl and give her time to get to know him. As part of his plan, he prevented distractions like text messages so he could connect with her. He believes they actually achieved that, given they've been through an entire relationship inside the elevator. They met, talked, slept together, fought, and broke up, all in one room. Jennifer insists that he won't get away because someone will arrive, but Guy reveals that he convinced the other guards it'll take their shift so that no one will be there until Tuesday. Now, he decides that he'd rather kill her than return to prison, catching her attention. Jennifer breaks down and calls him a monster, but he defends that he didn't force her to do anything. She points out that he kidnapped her, so Guy rushes to her, cornering her while insisting that he didn't kidnap her. He starts punching the walls, screaming that they had a connection, but she ruined everything. After his outburst, Guy claims that he feels better, so he decides to open the paper bag that Jennifer's been carrying. He finds a tag, revealing that it's supposed to be her gift to Derek. He takes the coat inside and wears it, seeing that it fits him too. Then, he forces her to open the other gift, which is a cigar set. Jennifer flinches as he flashes a lighter and a sharp scissor on her face, so he yells for her to stop acting like he'd hurt her. He starts smoking, even encouraging her to do so. Guy then comments that with all the nice gifts, perhaps she could have gotten Derek back. Later, Guy apologizes for lashing out earlier, excusing that he loses it when he gets mad. He promises that he doesn't want to scare her again, then asks for another chance. He starts complaining about the place, even smashing a light on the wall. Suddenly, he looks up at the ceiling and realizes that it doesn't have any screws, so he climbs the walls and busts it open. With a chance of getting out, he asks Jennifer to give him a boost so he can climb up and open the elevator from the outside. However, Jennifer manipulates him into letting her climb out instead, promising she won't call the cops. When she gets on top of the cabin, she flips him off and leaves. Guy jumps up and down in anger while Jennifer makes her way up a ladder. As Jennifer tries to escape, Guy ties some clothes together, creating a makeshift rope. He manages to hook it up on the ceiling, allowing him to escape. He quickly catches up to Jennifer while she's prying the door open. However, he pulls her, causing them to fall back into the elevator and lose consciousness. A few hours later, Jennifer is the first to recover and notices an exposed, dripping pipe nearby. She burns Guy's drawings to trigger the smoke alarms when he suddenly wakes up. Jennifer immediately kicks him in the face, allowing her to tie him up while he screams in agony. Just then, water sprinkles into the elevator, indicating that the smoke alarm was triggered and the fire department has been notified. Assuming that she now has the upper hand, Jennifer threatens to mutilate him if he doesn't confess his crimes while being recorded. The helpless guy agrees to this, and this time, he confesses everything. His real name is John Deakins, and he used to be a successful man with a stable job. However, it all went downhill when he killed someone. He reveals that his story about getting intimate with a coworker in his car was true. He'd been drunk and accidentally crashed the car, killing the woman. After he got out of a 6-month jail sentence, he could no longer land a decent job, so he became a security guard. He wanted a taste of his former life again, so he staged the elevator incident to experience a small break from his miserable life. Jennifer could only cry over how messed up his story was. Monday arrives, and John's coworker, Eddie, walks into the building with his girlfriend, Ruby, to take her to the roof. He looks for John but ends up seeing the footage from the elevator. Using the emergency communication, Eddie notifies Jennifer that he's there. Thankful for the rescue, Jennifer waits for Eddie, unaware that John is untying his bindings. Shortly after, Eddie opens the door and gets greeted by Jennifer. The elevator is stuck just below the ceiling, making it unsafe for her to crawl out. However, as he prepares to get the elevator down, John pulls Jennifer away. Hearing John inside, Eddie tosses a key to him to override the elevator. However, John says it's not working, so he asks for help. As soon as Eddie gets half of his body inside, however, John turns the elevator on, chopping Eddie's body in half. Jennifer screams in horror, so John knocks her out. Shortly after, he puts Jennifer in his car trunk, then returns inside to get rid of the evidence and clean himself up. After this, he goes over the security footage and deletes everything. However, he gets interrupted by Ruby, who's looking for Eddie. Realizing that she's a witness, John decides to kill her too. Later on, he drives off and stops at an isolated area. He immediately puts kerosene in a dumpster where he plans to burn Jennifer's body. When he opens the trunk, he finds that she's already dead. He tosses her bags into the dumpster when Jennifer suddenly attacks him, knocking him down. She quickly gets into the car and drives off. However, she suddenly stops and puts the car in reverse to run over John. John quickly jumps into the dumpster to evade her, making her crash onto it instead. As she gets out of the car, Jennifer finds that John had gotten himself stabbed when he dove in, making him immobile. Pleased, she puffs a cigar and looks at him with a cold stare. Before she gets into the car, she tosses the cigar into the dumpster, lighting it and John up in flames.